Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am going to share with you my 2021 reading stats and a few goals that I have for 2022. Now these are going to be really soft stats. I am going to share with you what my Goodreads year in books has and compare it a little bit to my 2020 reading. And then I also do a separate spreadsheet where I track some of my reading. I still haven't honed in on what exactly I want on that spreadsheet, but we're getting there. So yeah, I just wanted to share with you what my reading was like in 2021. So let's get into it. So as far as pages read, I read 45,395 pages in 2021. That is up significantly from 2020. In 2020, I read 24,057 pages. So obviously, reading took a large part of my hobby time in 2021. It's definitely something that I want to work on. I say this all the time, but I want to have like a hobby balance because there are a lot of things that I enjoy doing. Reading is not the only hobby I have. Obviously, I knit. I knit this sweater that I'm wearing, just so that you know, I knit it in 2021. And I can definitely tell that I knit a lot less items than I did in 2020. And that's reflected in the number of pages that I read in 2021. So yeah, definitely want to work on that hobby balance in 2022. So as far as the number of books read, now this includes both novels and manga. So I read a total of 185 things in 2021. And again, that is up compared to what I read in 2020, which was 101 things. So the shortest book that I read in 2021 was one of my favorites. It is something that I like to reread a lot. It is In a Dark, Dark Room and Other Scary Stories, retold by Alvin Schwartz, pictures by Dirk Zimmer. This one I read in October. It is a short story collection, a children's book. I believe it's levels 1 through 3. So the font is really big. It's illustrated. And yes, so definitely a favorite. The longest book I read in 2021 was The Stand by Stephen King. This came in at 87 pages. Did I tell you how long In a Dark, Dark Room was? Can't remember. In a Dark, Dark Room was 64 pages. So The Stand was 817 pages, or at least the edition that I read was 817 pages. This is one that I really was disappointed with. It's a story that I was really familiar with because I have watched the miniseries with Gary Sinise and Molly Ringwald a lot. I do own it, in fact. And so I was expecting for there to be more in the book. You know, when you see movies adapted from books, you think that the books are better, right? They're going to have more things because a lot of times with adaptations, they don't have enough time to put everything in there. But in this case, in my experience, I definitely feel like the miniseries did an awesome job. The book really dragged for me. There's a lot of that traveling sense where we're following all of these characters individually before they gather together. And a lot of that has been cut out of the miniseries. And for me, the traveling in the book wasn't important. It wasn't interesting. I didn't really care. As I was turning the pages, it was just like, when are they all going to get together? Because that's when things really start picking up in that story for me. And yeah, I was very disappointed. I will definitely be sticking to watching the miniseries with Gary Sinise and Molly Ringwald if I want to revisit that story in the future. I did watch the new remake that's on Paramount Plus that stars Jason Marsden, and I didn't really care for that one. It also had a lot of things that weren't in the book added to the miniseries, and I don't think that those things that were added were necessary. So, yeah. very disappointed with my read of The Stand, but it was the longest book that I read in 2021. So the average book length in 2021 versus my average book length in 2020 hasn't really changed that much. In 2021, my average book length was 245 pages, but in 2020, it was 238 pages. So the things that I'm picking up are relatively similar in size, I guess. As far as the most popular book, so that means the most popular among the people on Goodreads, the book that I read that was the most popular was The Stand. And 1,167,620 people also shelved this book. And the least popular book that I read was a manga. It was volume 4 of Absolute Duo. And I can't remember off the top of my head who the authors were, the mangakas were on that. I know there was a long list of people on that one, and I do remember that it's one where I constantly had to refilm myself saying the names because I would always say them wrong. But anyway, Absolute Duo, 55 people also shelved that book, so that was the least popular thing I read. Unfortunately, both of those selections were kind of disappointing to me. Absolute Duo ended up being, I believe that one's incomplete, actually. It wasn't all published in English. And the further along I got, the more fan servicey it got, and I just didn't enjoy that. So, yeah. On another token, though, Absolute Duo was a series that I would consider a completed series. So that's good. I completed a series with that one at least. So let's talk about my average rating for 2021. So that ended up being a 4-star, 4.0 flat. My average rating for 2020 ended up being a 3.9. So not much difference there, but I am almost positive that my rating is up on average because of all of the manga that I read in 2021. If I had just calculated the books, my percentage would not be as high. I am almost positive, and I'm actually going to do something a little bit different this year to try to figure out what my average rating for novels only is, because I know that my average rating is being brought up by all of the manga that I read, because I definitely enjoyed the manga that I read this year more than I enjoyed the novels that I read in 2021. I said this year. I mean 2021. So the highest rated book I read on Goodreads was Our Dining Table. This is a standalone manga that was done by Mita Ori. This is one that I really, really enjoyed. It was a surprise for me because it's very contemporary romance, and I didn't expect to enjoy it as much. But watching these two men kind of grow into their relationship with the help of one of the men's younger brothers was super cute. There's a lot of food in that one, and I just really, really enjoyed it. I read this one for the Manga Pride Readathon. I think it was sometime in June for Pride Month. So, yeah, a very surprising read, and I'm glad that I read it. It's definitely one that I will reread again in the future. And so that pretty much does it for all of the Goodreads stuff. Let me switch over to my spreadsheet stats. So I keep like soft stats. It's not real specific. And so I'll just share those with you as I'm reading them down the page. So the number of owned books that I read out of the total number of books I read was 161 in 2021. That is awesome. I have not had a year where I've read that many owned things. Even in 2020, when for a good portion of that year we were in lockdown and I had stopped borrowing things from the library, I had only read 70 things that I had owned. So I think I did a really good job at reading things that I owned in 2021. So as far as library books read, like I said, I stopped borrowing things for the library. So that has definitely gone down. I do borrow things still from the library that are digital, but I don't borrow physical things from the library currently. I'm still not comfortable. And so that has gone down from 22 things to 6 things in 2021. I read 7 things from Kindle Unlimited, which is down from 2020 by 2. But the value of things that I read from Kindle Unlimited has increased. So I'm getting more of my value from reading Kindle Unlimited things in 2021 as opposed to what I read in 2020. So that has actually increased by $10. So the value of things I read from Kindle Unlimited was $54.88. The number of ARCs read, or advanced readers copies, has definitely increased in 2021. I read 7 ARCs, which in 2020 I read none. To be honest, I don't think I'm going to continue to request ARC copies. My mom obviously works at a bookstore. I've told you this before, and she brings home ARCs. And so I will still read what she brings home if I find something of interest, but I'm not going to request ARCs from like NetGalley or Edelweiss, I don't think, in the future. I had thought that in 2021 I was going to work on doing that because I'm definitely a backlist reader, as you'll see in some of the stats that are coming later, but I didn't enjoy like prioritizing new releases. I definitely read some that I really, really enjoyed, but to me, I would much rather just come upon the book when I want to, as opposed to feeling the pressure of, oh, I gotta get this read because they're expecting a review from me. And so, yeah, I do still have a backlist of ARCs that I do need to read in the future, but yeah, I don't think I'll be requesting ARC copies any longer. So now we're going to get into a little bit more of a categorized things. So of the things I read, 30 of them were novels, 3 of them were audiobooks, and 23 were book and audiobook together. So I don't listen and read at the same time. I will listen when I say I'm on my lunch break, and then like later on in the evening, right before bed, I'll pick up the actual physical copy and read. So that's kind of what I'm considering as book and audiobook reading, not that I am listening and reading at the same time. So that's definitely changed from 2020. I listened to a lot more audiobooks. And when I say listen to a lot more audiobooks, that means I listened to the entire book on audiobook. I didn't read any of it physically or by ebook. So that number has definitely come down. I'm trying to work audiobooks back into my routine. That's definitely something that changed when lockdown happened and I stopped having to go into the office and, have been working from home, because a lot of times a majority of my audiobook listening was when I was getting ready for work and putting this on and things like that. And so since I am working from home, I no longer put my face on every morning before I go to the office. And so that really took out my audiobook listening time. However, I am getting a little bit more sleep, so I'll take that trade-off. So let's talk about series now, because we all know that I am a serial series starter. I've said this in another video. I really want to work on my series. It was something that I thought I would work on in 2021, and just looking at these numbers, it's not something that I was very successful in. But I started 61 new series in 2021. That's a lot. But I have to also keep in mind that I do run 2 kind of book clubs, or I did in 2021. I had my Book One Cozies Club, which was a first in a series cozy mystery book club. So every selection we were reading was a first in a series. So that's 12 series right there. Then we restarted our manga club, my in real life manga club. I talk about those under the Monochrome Manga Club header on my channel. And we read first in a series selections for that club as well. So I'm not sure how many of those series, 61, are series that I picked up outside of those 2 clubs. I'm also thinking about something that I want to change on this spreadsheet and how I track it, because some of those series that I started are series that I restarted. So it's a series that I had already read volume 1 or read the first installment before, and then I reread it so that I could continue. So I think in the future, I'm not going to count rereads of volume 1s as starts of series. Just because it doesn't really make sense. I'm starting it again, but it's already a series that I had started before, so I shouldn't really have to count it again as a series that I've started, right? At least that's what I'm thinking. Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below, because I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to retrack that. Especially because in January, I did restart another series. So I do need to figure out relatively soon how I'm going to track that. The number of series that I completed was 12. So I completed about one series every month on average. Not really, but just, you know what I mean. But that's not really a bad number. It's not as great a number as I would have liked, but I didn't do too badly, I don't think. So as far as standalones go, I'm not really one that reads standalones. In fact, in 2020, I only read 5. But in 2021, I've read 24 standalones. And that is the highest number of standalones I've read, I think, ever. Especially in a year. I don't know. 2021 was just a year of me reading standalones, which I don't hate. Considering the number of series that I've got ongoing that I really want to pare down, reading standalones is great because it's not another thing that I'm going to be adding to a list of things I'm trying to pare down. So things are definitely changing there, and I'm not sad about it. I'm not mad about it. I think that's great. So obviously I'm still a backlist reader. The number of backlist titles that I read in 2021 was 157. And I will always be a backlist reader. I just enjoy not reading with the hype of things. I enjoy reading series when they're completely out, or close to at least. So yeah, the number of backlist titles will probably always be a majority of what I read. I will be very shocked the year that changes to the number of current year releases being what I read the most. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think, but you never know. You never know. Speaking of the number of 2021 releases that I read, that number was 24. And so that is definitely up from the number of current year releases I read in 2020, which was only 4. So yeah, I would say that the 2021 releases that I read this year, I think a lot of them I really enjoyed. And so I was really surprised, but a lot of them were also starts of series. So that's not great either. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to look back on because I definitely don't remember having read that many 2020 run releases, but that's okay. So as far as the number of manga versus graphic novels versus books go, I read 123 volumes of manga in 2021. That's a lot of manga. It's almost double what I read in 2020. And so, yeah, I participated in a lot of manga reading events, which was super fun. I definitely anticipate participating in those again this year, like the Manga Pride Readathon that I had mentioned earlier. The Haunted 24-Hour Manga Readathon, I think, is going to come back in some way, shape, or form. That one I helped host. I'm participating in the Fly Along, which is the Haikyuu Read Along. And that in itself has 45 volumes. So, yeah, I definitely think my manga reading is going to stay up there this year. But I also read some graphic novels that weren't Japanese. I should also add in something for next year, which I just thought of now because I read manhwa, which is a Korean comic, and that I didn't separate out. I should do that for my spreadsheet in 2022, so I'll make note of that right now. But I think I only read one manhwa of the number of manga that I just stated. So, yeah. Graphic novels, I don't consider anything that is not Japanese to be manga. And so I read 2 volumes of which Will, Irma, Tyranny, Cornelia, and Heylin. This is a magical girl graphic novel that was adapted or has an adaptation. I'm not quite sure how that goes, but there was a cartoon on Jetix on the Disney Channel when my daughter was growing up, and she was really into it. And so I have been collecting that series of graphic novels very slowly. They are full color, super heavy bind up editions, and they're gorgeous. I really enjoyed those, but those were the only 2 graphic novels that I read in 2021. So the number of novels that I actually read was 56, which was excellent. It was so good. I always strive to read 52 novels in a year. It's just something that I really want to do, especially with the fact that I read so much manga. I do track the number of novels that I read. And I was so happy when I figured out that at the end of November, I had already hit my 52 novels. I couldn't believe it. That one stat is just makes me super happy. And so, yes, I successfully completed that goal. I did not complete that goal in 2020. In fact, I was so far behind that goal, it's not even funny. So that in total is the 181 things that I had read, and then I DNF'd 4 books. And so that's the 185 things that I have listed on Goodreads, because I do count them as read, even if I DNF them. I have stopped rating things that I DNF, but I do still mark them as read because I gave them a good go before I decide to stop. So, yeah. Now, as far as genres go, this is where I need to work on my categorizing a little bit better, because I'm not really happy with how I'm tracking my genres. And it's really hard for me because when I think about the things that I am reading, it's not necessarily what the thing that Goodreads says it is. So, like, if I am reading a fantasy mystery, I consider that a mystery. I don't consider that a fantasy. But on Goodreads, the number of tags, I guess, fantasy is always first. And then mystery is somewhere down, down the list. And so, yeah, I had defaulted in 2021 to going by what the highest Goodreads tag was on it. And I'm not really happy with that. So I think it's probably just better for me if I go by what I think the book was, as opposed to what Goodreads is saying. But based on my little pie chart here, you're going to be shocked, because a majority of the things that I read in 2021 were fantasy. Even I'm shocked, because I've always thought that I was a mystery thriller reader. But again, this might have something to do with the fact that I was going based on what Goodreads is saying and not what I think the book is. So, like, I read some paranormal mystery. Paranormal is technically fantasy. So, yeah, you can definitely see why I think I need to figure out some changes in this area. Another surprising thing is I read a lot of romance. That is my second most read genre of 2021. And I can tell you that 100% that is all manga. I did not read any romance novels. All of that is manga. And I always say I'm not a romance reader, but in retrospect, I enjoy romance manga. I enjoy sweet, fluffy manga romances. I don't enjoy reading romance novels. I'm going to be exploring that this year, though, especially with this stat. I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore. So, yeah, definitely something to think about and explore in 2022. But my next most read genre in 2021 was horror. And I did a lot of reading in October, and that's where all of that stat is coming in. So, between the horror, thriller, and mystery, because the horror that I did read definitely had mysterious elements in them, I would say if you add that all up, it's definitely my highest genre if you combine the three. But if you just separate out mystery and thriller and horror in their separate genres, that's where things got less and less. So, yeah, I read a lot of different genres in 2021. A lot more than I read in 2020. So, I'm happy about that. Definitely want to explore some things. Like I said, I want to see if I enjoy romance novels, because I've always said that I don't. But obviously the stats are saying something else. And I definitely need to think about how I'm going to track the genres in the future again. If you have any ideas on how I should be tracking the genre, like should I just go with my gut and input that, or go with what the Goodreads top shelved genre is? Because sometimes I think that is what is skewing my results, but another times I'm like, oh, but that result is right. I mean, like the paranormal mystery that I was talking about earlier. It's paranormal. It's also a mystery. Do I need to separate out the subgenres? I don't know. That's a lot of specificities that I need to make, and I'm kind of trying to make things easy for myself. So, yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts on any of that down in the comments below, because I'd really love to hear what you thought. As far as the star ratings go, I didn't do too badly. 2 stars was my lowest rating. I do go on a 10-star scale, so that would be like a 4. But a majority of my ratings was a 4-star or an 8-star, because like I said, I do go on a 10-star scale. But again, I think that is skewed because of the amount of manga that I have in there. Most of the manga I read is 4 or 5 stars. I don't read very many manga that are 3 or less. So I know that the amount of manga that I read in 2021 is definitely skewing that star rating. So I think in 2022, I'm going to have a separate tracker for just novels, then compare it to the overall afterwards, because I'm not too concerned with the star ratings on the manga, because like I said, I normally read 4 or 5-star manga. It's very rare that I read something that's less than that. But yeah, 8 stars or a 4-star is not bad at all. But that being said, because I think that number is skewed by all of the manga that I enjoyed in 2021, I think I've kind of lost my reading tastes, because I do think that if we just separated out all the novels that I read, that average star rating is going to go down quite a bit. I remember rating a lot of books 2 stars, 2.5, 3 stars in the year 2021. I am DNFing more, which is great. I'm still working on that. Obviously, 4 DNFs is not a large amount of things, but it's, again, higher than I did in 2020, so I'm working on it. I'm trying not to spend so much time reading things that I don't enjoy. I kind of feel like I don't know what I enjoy anymore. I don't know. It's kind of a weird feeling. So another thing that I'm going to be exploring besides other genres in the year of 2022 is revisiting a lot of series that I remember enjoying, especially because I had never finished those series. So revisiting, restarting, and just picking up different things and trying to get a hold of my reading taste again, because I do feel like I've lost it since the last couple years. Yeah, so definitely some things that I want to work on in 2022. As far as reading goals go, I don't have too many. Again, I'm just going to do my 52 novels out of everything that I read in 2022. Definitely want to get that number again. That feels really great that I did accomplish that in 2021. So I'm going to strive for that again in 2022. Definitely want to get the number of Kindle Unlimited books read up and the value up, because I want to make sure that I'm utilizing that subscription and, utilizing my other subscriptions as well, because I did pick up a manga subscription, digital manga subscription, so I want to make sure I use that. And so I'll probably have another stat for that in the year of 2022. And yeah, I don't think I have very many other goals for 2022. I did stop my first in a series Cozy Mystery Book Club in 2021. And while that was a sad thing for me, I definitely am feeling freer now to pick up the sequels in a lot of those series that we started. Book One Cozy's Club was going for over 5 years. And so that's a lot of series to have started and not have continued or completed. So definitely want to work on that. Want to work on my sequels. I have a sequel shelf on Goodreads now, so that will help me keep track of where I am. And then I can like randomize the shelf and get a selection to read if I'm never ever not knowing what to read, because I did find that over the last couple years, that's a thing that's been happening to me. I don't know what to read. I have such a hard time looking and finding things, and it was just a mess that I ended up not reading a lot of the time. And so I think the things that I had put in place as I was realizing that in 2021 definitely helped, because my numbers are up, but it does still need some work. And so I'm working on more things to help me with that, more lists of things that you have seen, and you'll see some more following this video. And so, yeah, I put my Goodreads goal at 100 things again. I don't think that's ever going to change. The 52 novels out of everything I read in a year, that's not going to change either. And so I think we're off to a good start in 2022. I'm feeling very confident. Like I said, definitely want to work on my hobby balancing in 2022, because I do want to knit on more things. I do want to play more games. I want to spend more time with my daughter. And yeah, so that's pretty much going to wrap up this long-winded video. Let me know down in the comments below what your reading stats look like in 2021. Do you have any specific goals that you're working on? Are you striving for anything in the year of 2022? Let me know down in the comments below, because I would love to chat with you about it. And if you've done a stats video, let me know that down in the comments below as well. I'm still catching up on videos from all of the Vlogmas and Bookmas and holiday video extravaganzas. And so, yeah, I may not have gotten to your video yet, but it's probably on my list. But again, let me know if you've done one, just in case I missed it. And if nothing else, and you would just like to let me know that you are here, if you could leave me a thumbs up or a celebration type emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. And that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.